Daniel Sports Central will be giving you guys my up-to-date college football bowl projections for Week 10 of this 2021 college football season. And as we head into the month of November, we're starting to get an idea of which teams will be in what bowl games come December. And of course, definitely a lot of things are still not set in stone. I mean, a lot of things can happen in 1 month of action. I mean, of course, the first thing that comes to mind for October, of course, was Iowa. I mean, that was a football team that was ranked number 2. And by the end of the month, they are at the bottom of the top 25 after taking 2 straight losses. So, I mean, a lot of things can happen in 1 month. So certainly this is not set in stone as of right now. But these are my predictions for what we could see at the end of December for our bowl season. So that being said, let's get into it for Week 10's bowl projections. I'll be going through the general bowl games quickly so we can get to the New Year's 6 bowl games, which I'll do a little more analysis on. So Cure Bowl, Troy versus East Carolina, Bahamas Bowl, Toledo and Florida Atlantic, Boca Raton Bowl, Nevada and Liberty, New Mexico Bowl, San Diego State and UTEP, Independence Bowl, BYU and UTSA. That's where UTSA, the Roadrunners, end up theirs into the Independence Bowl against BYU. 2 good football teams there. Both teams should be ranked, I would assume, by the time we get to that point in the season. But once again, I mean, this is not set in stone. Anything can happen, but that would be quite a matchup if it did happen between 2 teams that are definitely dark horses in the nation. South Alabama and Louisiana in the New Orleans Bowl, Lenning Tree Bowl, Northern Illinois and Coastal Carolina, LA Bowl, Fresno State and USC. That's where the first Power 5 team plays their first bowl game, is in the LA Bowl with USC. It'll be a Pac-12 team, and USC is kind of the one of the middle of the road teams in the Pac-12 right now. So Fresno State, that'd be a good matchup for them. App State and Western Michigan in the Myrtle Beach Bowl, Frisco Bowl, Ball State and Utah State, Idaho Potato Bowl, Miami, Ohio, and Boise State. Then your Armed Forces Bowl, Army and Marshall. Moving on, Gasparilla Bowl, Washington and Western Kentucky. So the Huskies do land in a bowl game. I've got them barely making it to one. It could be Washington or Stanford. I do have Stanford out of a bowl game right now, but Washington or Stanford are definitely capable of it. Really, we could see several teams get that spot in the Gasparilla Bowl, but I've got Washington right now in there. Air Force and UCF in the Hawaii Bowl. Kameli Bowl is Kent State and Louisiana. Quick Lane Bowl, SMU and Rutgers. Military Bowl, Syracuse and Oregon State. Birmingham Bowl, Houston and LSU. So I do have LSU making one, just barely. I think I have LSU making it over Missouri. I believe I've got 11 SEC teams in bowl games with all the New Year's 6 bowl games and how talented of a conference it is. It's either LSU or Missouri in that Birmingham Bowl. First Responder Bowl is Louisville and West Virginia. Liberty Bowl, Texas Tech and Mississippi State. Guaranteed Rate Bowl, Kansas State and Maryland. Holiday Bowl, North Carolina and Washington State. Washington State's really come a long ways. They're playing pretty well right now. Virginia Tech and Iowa State in the Cheez-It Bowl. Then Fenway Bowl is Miami and Memphis. Moving on to some better, these are your some of the good bowl games here on New Year's Eve and heading into the later parts of the year. Pinstripe Bowl, Virginia and Purdue. Alamo Bowl, that's where Utah lands. Utah could be a New Year's 6 bowl team potentially if Oregon makes it to the college football playoff. So kind of an interesting situation there, especially at this rate. I mean, Oregon, if they win out, they should be in the college football playoff because the committee apparently likes them right now, having them at number 4 in the initial rankings. So that's the crazy thing for Utah right now, is if they win the Pac-12 South and they face off against Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, I mean, Utah could use Oregon in the college football playoff because, I mean, if Oregon's in the college football playoff, that opens up a spot for the Pac-12 in the Rose Bowl. So potentially, I mean, if Utah lets Oregon win the Pac-12 championship game, we could see Oregon in the college football playoff and Utah in the Rose Bowl, and that also open up another spot for another Pac-12 team. So lots at stake there for Utah and Oregon especially, or whichever team wins the Pac-12 South, by the way. I mean, that division is still wide open, even though it seems as if Oregon is going to win the Pac-12 North. But yeah, Pac-12 South is wide open. Arizona State, Utah, really any team can win that division right now. Iowa and Tennessee I've got in the Music City Bowl, so I do have Iowa dropping 1 or 2 more games potentially. Duke's Mayo Bowl, Pittsburgh and Arkansas. The Razorbacks fall into the Mayo Bowl. And of course you got Las Vegas Bowl being UCLA and Minnesota. So Minnesota, they're looking pretty good right now in the top 25. UCLA is playing decently as well. Auburn and Clemson in the Gator Bowl. That's where Clemson lands against a decent SEC opponent in Auburn. Auburn certainly, I think, will be favored in that matchup, but Clemson is also a very talented football team too. Even though they've just had a tough season. Clemson, this is probably one bad season for them, but they still fall in a somewhat decent bowl game in the Gator Bowl there. Sun Bowl, NC State and Arizona State. Arizona Bowl is going to be Central Michigan and San Jose State. Then your Texas Bowl, Texas versus Florida. Let's get to the more major bowl games. We got the Citrus and Outback Bowl, and then all of the New Year's Six bowl games here. Citrus Bowl is Penn State and Kentucky. I've got the Nittany Lions as the last team in the New Year's Six bowl games. I think Penn State right now, that's a football team that, genuinely, I think Penn State is a very talented team, and it's going to be tough for them to make it into the Citrus Bowl, but I think it's definitely possible, even though they've taken 3 straight losses. They've got potential to win out. We'll have to see what happens there, but then you got Kentucky there. Kentucky's they've taken 2 straight losses as well, so it'll be interesting to see how the Wildcats do, but I've got Penn State and Kentucky in the Citrus Bowl. Outback Bowl, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's going to come on, I think, in November. Past couple of weeks, they've been very promising. They beat Iowa. I think they also beat Purdue. Yeah, Purdue, they beat them by a significant margin. So Wisconsin, they're starting to come on, and that's a football team that has already taken 3 losses, but potentially, who knows? They beat Minnesota down the stretch. We could still see Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game, especially if Iowa takes another loss. So definitely something to watch out for there. Ole Miss, the SEC opponent in this game, it'll be Wisconsin and Ole Miss in the Outback Bowl. Moving on to the New Year's Six, Texas A&M and Wake Forest. I've got Wake Forest winning the ACC now. I had NC State winning the ACC for a couple of weeks. If you remember my Week 7 bowl projections, or my Week 8 ones as well, I had NC State end up winning the ACC, but it's not going to be Wake Forest. Wake Forest is starting to grow on me a bit. There's still a couple of uncertainties that I have with that football team. I think they're kind of upset prone. Potentially a team can go in. Who knows? For all we know, this week in North Carolina could upset them. Well, actually, it wouldn't be an upset because the Tar Heels are somehow favored, but Wake Forest is, they've got a challenge this weekend against the Tar Heels. Texas A&M on the flip side, they're playing pretty well right now, and they're, I'd say, pretty overlooked right now as well. They beat Alabama, and ever since that win, Texas A&M has played very well. So I see them in the Peach Bowl in the end against Wake Forest. We got Fiesta Bowl, Michigan and Notre Dame. Notre Dame, of course, is also a very good football team. They're in the top 10, I believe, right now, top 10 or 11. So Notre Dame's playing pretty good football, and Michigan, of course, just took a loss to Michigan State, but I think they still make it to your New Year's Six bowl game, even if they do lose to Ohio State down the stretch. Sugar Bowl is Alabama and Oklahoma State. This is the same as my Week 8 bowl projection. I think Alabama in the Sugar Bowl is very reasonable. If Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, they'll be in the college football playoff, but I think that Georgia beats Alabama right now in the conference championship, and Alabama falls to the Sugar Bowl, but still, excellent bowl game against a very good Oklahoma State team. We'll have to see how the Cowboys end up. They've got Oklahoma here pretty soon, so we'll find out whether Oklahoma State or Oklahoma is the best Big Ten team. But once again, we still have the conference championship as one of the Big 12. Really, 4 teams could win the Big 12 right now. Oklahoma is probably my favorite, but we could see Baylor. Watch out for Baylor. They're playing pretty well right now. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and yeah, so it's wide open right now, that's for sure. Rose Bowl is going to be Oregon and Michigan State once again. Oregon and the Pac-12 South champion. That's the interesting thing here, is because if Oregon wins the Pac-12 and wins out, they'll be in the college football playoff. So the Pac-12 South champion, if they end up losing the conference championship, who knows? They could be in the Rose Bowl. So, it's an interesting situation that is still several weeks out, so we really can't talk about it much right now. But I'm going to take Oregon to be in the Pac-12 or in the Rose Bowl against Michigan State. A lot of things can still happen here, but yeah, we'll have to see what happens. It's certainly Michigan State. Spartans are a very good football team. They're playing excellent right now, probably the best Big Ten team, and they got Ohio State here in a couple of weeks. So that's really going to be their big test. Michigan State did beat Michigan last week, but of course that Ohio State football team is really playing very good football right now as well. So we'll see what happens. Certainly this would be a big matchup, though, if we had Oregon and Michigan State. It would be a huge matchup, that's for sure. But moving on to our college football playoff games, I've got Ohio State and Oklahoma right now in the Cotton Bowl. I think Oklahoma wins out, and if they win out, that means they have to beat Baylor. They would beat Iowa State, I believe, and then Oklahoma State, if I'm right, for their final 3 games. If Oklahoma does that, they should be in the college football playoff, no doubt. Oklahoma State is a highly ranked team. Baylor's starting to get up there as well, and Iowa State is not a terrible football team. So if Oklahoma wins out, I would be shocked if they weren't in the college football playoff. So I've got them at number 3. In Ohio State, I've got them at number 2. I've got the Buckeyes currently winning the Big Ten, but the number 2 position will probably be a Big Ten team, whether it's Michigan State or Ohio State, or if the Big Ten West team wins the championship, which would be extremely unlikely. But if that happened, then we probably wouldn't even see any team from the Big Ten in the college football playoff. But right now, Ohio State, Oklahoma, I think in the Cotton Bowl as of right now. And for your 1 versus 4 games, I've got Georgia at number 1. They're going to win the SEC. And Cincinnati's my number 4. This is slightly different than my college football playoff predictions that I had a couple of days ago, because I was kind of thinking about it, and I think this is this could be definitely how it goes. Georgia and Cincinnati, if Cincinnati wins out and potentially Oregon loses a game down the stretch, Cincinnati is definitely capable of being number 4. So I've got Georgia and Cincinnati right now in the Orange Bowl, and I think they haven't announced quite yet between the New Year's, the college football playoff semifinal games, what game will be the 1 versus 4 and which one will be the 2 versus 3. So we're still waiting on that, but right now this is what I've got for 1 versus 4 and 2 versus 3. But let me know your thoughts and comments below, though, on my bowl projections for this week. We'll do these every week from here on out as we head into the heat of the college football season in November. So that being said, appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys later.